Hi there, and welcome to my filming location video on Friday the 13th, part 6. Jason lives. I have loved Friday the 13th since that very first version when I saw it when I was a very impressionable youngster, and I've followed the franchise all along. And certainly there are some that I'm like more than others, and I would have to say number 6 is definitely up there with one of my favorites, starring C.J. Graham as our favorite villain, Jason Vorhees. When I had an opportunity to be out in Georgia, I knew this is something I had to do. I knew that I had to go visit all of these spots. And so I want to bring you along. So come along. Let's go. All right, if you are a Friday the 13th Part 6 fan, I'm sure you recognize the building I'm standing in front of right now. This was the building used to portray the exterior of the Forest Green Police Department. So right here, after Tommy realizes he has accidentally resurrected Jason Voorhees, oops, he pulls up here in his truck and he runs up these stairs to go inside and tell the sheriff, Jason's alive! Jason's coming for us! And of course, the sheriff thinks he's absolutely insane.
This boy's cheese slid off his cracker.
Crazy or something?
This kid is sick.
So he runs up those stairs, goes inside the doors, kind of goes to the left, and that's it. So I'm going to go up the stairs like Tommy Jarvis did. See my shadow in my hoodie, trying to stay dry. And, oh, this door's open. This door's open. Now this is a medical supply facility, so I'm not going to go any further. I'm just going to show you this is about where he would have stopped during the filming of the movie, right about here. And then it would have cut to another location. So that's it. So this was it. This was the Forest Green Police Department, you know, because they had changed the name. They didn't want it to be Camp Crystal Lake anymore. They renamed everything Forest Green, Camp Forest Green, trying to erase the memory of what had occurred there. So that's where the cars would have been, and there's the backdrop, the beautiful Covington Square and the Covington Courthouse. And hopefully I can come back here at night and get some footage that's at night so it matches what we see in the movie. I have to give a shout out to Malfunction, Sean Clark, because he did a video on this movie that taught me some things I did not know. So pretty much everything I'm going to tell you is in his video. You might want to check that one out if you haven't already. And we have a car. Alright, so there we have the Forest Green Sheriff's Office. We know that was used for the exteriors. At night we see part of this building in the shot where Tommy and Megan are getting in the car outside the sheriff's station. You see some posts and a balcony of a building. That's this building. But if we just go one block over, we're going to go take a look at that building right there. Let's go a little closer. Right here. Thanks to Sean Clark sharing this little tidbit with us, we now know that the interiors of the Forest Green Sheriff's Department were filmed right in that building on the second floor. So it is believed that those windows up there are the windows that you see behind Megan when she's sitting at the sheriff's desk, and she's kind of rocking back in the chair and trying to balance herself, and you see some windows right behind her. So it is believed that those are the windows. Now, that window on the right, a couple of windows on the right, are boarded up currently because this entire block had a fire. So everything is currently closed and needs repair. But back to our story. This would be the building where the sheriff's office was built on the second floor. It goes quite a ways back. This would also be where the jail cell was filmed inside there. They would have made a little jail cell for Tommy. Now when you watch the scene, there is a very small window in the cell, and I don't see any windows on the side that match that, but there are some old windows that have been bricked over. You can kind of see the ledge, so who knows what they might have done with Hollywood magic. But the interesting thing to note is this is a white brick building, and when he's in the cell, it is a white brick wall. So that would seem to indicate that further confirmation that that jail cell was up there on that second floor, right next to the sheriff's office. This is now a dance studio, or at least it was until the fire, and hopefully they will be able to recover and reopen once the repairs are made. It was originally a department store, if I recall, but that is it. Now, before you know it, the police are telling Tommy he's got to leave town, and they're giving him a police escort out of town, and they are driving down this road. And they think he's going to do what they're telling him to do, get out of town and not show his face again. But we're approaching an intersection where you remember seeing the Eternal Rest Cemetery sign. So you're going to be able to see kind of right here where it was. So Tommy Jarvis would have been driving this way, coming towards me with the police right behind him. And they think he's going out of town like they said. And he comes to this corner, and right about here, in the grass right here, is where you see the Eternal Peace Cemetery sign. And it's pointing to the left. So instead of going straight and going out of town, Tommy decides he's going to make a left and go that way towards the cemetery. Only thing is, that's not the cemetery. That's the entrance to Camp Daniel Morgan. So that's a little bit of Hollywood magic. But yeah, the Eternal Peace Cemetery sign would have been right about here in the grass. So here I am in the Eternal Peace Cemetery. At least that's what it's called in Friday the 13th Part 6. And right behind me here is a set of railroad tracks. This is the set of railroad tracks we see Tommy Jarvis drive over when he's trying to flee from the police. And instead of leaving town, he takes them back to the cemetery, wanting to show them that Jason Vorhees is not in his grave. So there's a little bit of Hollywood trickery here. They make it look like this is the entrance to the cemetery. There's a big arch built right over there, over the road there. It's hard to do this backwards. That has the name of the cemetery, but that's not real. That was just made for the film. So they make it look like he is driving and the police are chasing him, and he comes here and he goes over this railroad track and down into the cemetery. But in reality, I'm already in the cemetery. So the main entrance to the cemetery is actually way down this road back here behind me. So they don't show you that. I'll just turn the camera around and show you what they do show you, but I want to give you the full picture. So this is the first part of the cemetery that you drive through after you come in the main gate. In the scene, we're seeing some railroad tracks. And you can see there's a pretty big incline here. So it's right here. They make it look like just any old road. They kind of conceal the fact that you're already in a cemetery. And we see him go up this incline here with the tracks on the right. And then we see him go down the other side where the other section of the cemetery is. I'll take you over there and show you. There's more to it when you get here than it looks like on the screen. And he goes over these tracks, goes down there, and kind of veers off to the left. And that's really all we see of this part of the cemetery. Now there are the two different sets of tracks here. So I believe where that arch was built was right over here, because he goes over the tracks and he immediately goes down and to the left. This is the set of tracks we see as Tommy is approaching, or actually before Tommy's approaching. We see this set of tracks, and then suddenly we see him come up and go down. I thought I would take a moment to show you this. There's a little sign about the cemetery, the Madison Historic Cemeteries. It's actually a composite of 4 different cemeteries reflecting the stages of community development. This is actually the main entrance to the cemetery right here. And after Tommy goes over those railroad tracks, which are way back there, I don't even know if you can see them. Yeah, there you can. The next thing you know, he pulls over right here. Right about here. And the police car pulls right in front of him. And you can recognize this spot because of this tall gravestone over here on the left. And he gets out of his truck and he starts off on foot, running around the cemetery with the police in hot pursuit. Now the next thing you know, he's actually on the other side. There's a road that goes all the way around. So the next thing you know, he's on the other side and he's running this way. So we're going to go over there and try and show you that. All right, just over there, I want to show you where we started. There's that tall monolith headstone. So that's where Tommy's truck would have been parked. And then although we don't see it, I guess we are to assume that he runs all the way around, because the next thing you know, he's over here, and this is where he trips and stumbles. Now at this point, the camera's actually all the way over there and it's up high, so it's watching him coming, and right now we are kind of behind him, but we can follow in his footsteps a little bit. So after he stands up, trying to run away from the police. Actually, I don't know if he was really trying to run away as much as he was trying to show them Jason's grave. Get them to believe him. So he walks through here. And then here, he makes a right turn. Police in hot pursuit. This way, makes a left turn. Stops right about here. And then he cuts through here to be walking in his footsteps a little bit. Cool. Very cool. Now, actually, we are right where the chase ends, because it ends right in front of this. But we'll get to that in a second. Now after he cut through here, the camera kind of turns around and we start seeing some really tight shots as he's running through the cemetery with the police in pursuit. So I think I've kind of figured out, it's a little bit of a maze in here, but really most of the chase just all takes place in this little area right here. So that's where we just were, at the end of that area. And as I said, the camera then spins around and you see these couple of headstones back here behind him. So he must have run all the way around and come up here again. He's getting his exercise, because the next thing you know, we see him kind of coming this way. He's just going in circles because he started kind of back there and ran down here up to that, see that triangle thing? That's where he made his right, and then he made his left, and then he cut through there. And then the next thing you know, he's back over here, coming this way. Now the next thing you know, we see the police officer running kind of in hot pursuit of Tommy, and this is kind of your identifying marker for that scene. You see him running by, and you see 2 stretches of fencing. Now all of that turns out to be in vain, because after all of that, he is finally tackled by the police officer. You see a bit of a corner of this, you see these headstones, and he's tackled right in front of that object right there. The police officer tackles him to the ground, makes him stand up. And this has seen better days, by the way. In the film, the top piece was solid, and now it's in pieces. And after he gets him to stand up, that's when Tommy says, look over there. He's trying to tell them that Jason's not in his grave, but nobody's listening. Looks like the top has kind of caved in. trying to stand in front of this. Well, guess what? You can't look over there because he's pointing to the cemetery where Jason was buried and resurrected, right? And his friend is now in his gravestone. Only that's not really here. That is a fake cemetery that was constructed just for the purpose of that opening scene. So that's going to just about wrap up the real cemetery. Now, I can't, well, you decide for yourself when you watch the clip I'm about to insert right here, right now. According to Sean Clark's video, the actor that played Tommy went back to some of his call sheets to try to figure out where that occurred. And according to that video, it's right there. He said it's right there, so I thought I'd maybe just go walk around and see what I see. There is private property. The owner's coming. I might ask her for confirmation. Hi. What's that?
You're not having any car trouble or anything, are you, sugar?
No. You know what I'm here for? Have you lived here for a long time?
Uh-huh.
Supposedly they filmed a movie scene right here. They made a fake cemetery. Does that sound familiar to you?
Well, I tell you,
It was a Friday the 13th movie.
yeah, they made the cemetery, honey. You go up back and you go through the state park.
Uh-huh.
And you go on around like you're going to Rutledge.
Okay.
And it's over on the right hand side going from here.
Well, that was a complete fluke. What are the chances that the homeowner would just happen to be home and happen to come over and start talking to me because she thought I was having car trouble? And as it turned out, she knew where the fake cemetery was built because she lived there at the time and she witnessed the filming. So she gave me directions and I followed them explicitly. She told me to turn around, go the other direction, go past Camp Daniel Morgan, and continue driving as if I was headed towards the city of Rutledge. The camp is actually on the outskirts of the city, not actually in the city. She said to keep driving until you pass a curve in the road, a curve to the right, which you can begin to see just ahead. Look for a house after you pass that curve that is all by itself. It's a house that was built not too many years ago, and it sits a little bit uphill and not too far back from the road, similar to her house. You can clearly see it from the road, unlike many of the other homes in this area. I only found one home that matched that description in this entire stretch of road. Only one home. So when I found it, I found a little road just before it that I turned up and I drove back there, and I will show you what I found. So this is the area that is sort of matching her description. Just over there is the house that was built, and you could see it's going uphill. So we're going to drive up a little more and see what we see. And she said they are starting to build more houses around here now, so that makes sense. There's a house over there. Got a tractor down here. You can see a lot of trees have been cleared for the construction that is starting to take place back here. According to her directions, this is where the fake cemetery would have been built, right in this piece of land. The one thing that's interesting to note is that it is on an incline. In fact, the first part of this lot goes uphill towards the house, and then the back part comes down. When you watch the scene, the fake cemetery does appear to have been built on a piece of land that is on an incline. They even built some steps into the set to accommodate that incline. So that is interesting. You see lots of trees in the background in the scene behind the fake cemetery, and there's certainly lots of trees here. It seems like in the scene it comes to like a 45-degree angle, which this lot does. But the thing that's kind of got me a little curious is this. What is that? Could that be? Could that be Jason's grave? And then this would have been the road. After he digs Jason out and Jason comes up, they kind of stare at each other for a while, and Tommy turns around and he gets in his car and he drives off. So his car is very, very close to the grave. And this would have been easy to get the crews in and out with this road leading back to the main road when this was all nothing. Of course, I cannot state with 100% certainty that this in fact is the spot where the fake cemetery was built, and for that reason, I almost did not include it. However, I decided to tell you what happened because it all just seemed awfully coincidental. Following the directions of a local who saw the cemetery being built during filming, having it lead me to this lot that seems to match the shape and the slope, even if you forget about that hole in the ground for a minute, it seems like a lot of things add up. So I thought I would include it, let you see it, and let you decide for yourself. So today promises to be a pretty fun day. I am standing right in front of Camp Daniel Morgan, which was the location for Camp Forest Green, aka Camp Crystal Lake in Friday the 13th Part 6. There's actually a gate back there, right behind me. And I have the key! So Camp Daniel Morgan is part of Hard Labor State Park here in Rutledge, Georgia. Just gonna be down that road. I just have to open this lock, and then I think I need to lock it behind me, which means I'm basically gonna be locking myself inside Camp Forest Green. I hope Jason's not there. I got it off. Just gonna open the gate here. Open this side too. I'll be on my way inside Camp Forest Green. Sure does look pretty. I'm about to go in. I am so excited. If you follow me, you know how excited I get at these places. Places where my favorite movies were filmed on Friday the 13th. Well, I do love the franchise, but number 6 especially, with C.J. Graham playing the role of Jason Vorhees, one of my favorite Jasons. Now, in the interest of transparency, I have been here before a couple years ago on my first and only other trip to Georgia with a couple of friends, and I don't know what happened. So ever since, I've been wanting to come back and, you know, have a second stab at it. So here I am, finally. I'm just as excited as if I've never been here before, and gonna go in and do all the stuff I couldn't do before. So come along with me. I hope this should be some fun today. And away we go. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't believe I'm inside here all by myself. Inside Camp Crystal Lake, renamed Camp Forest Green in the interest of trying to erase its horrific past. Here we are. I'm just gonna park right here. Oh my gosh. And here we have it. The entrance to Camp Forest Green. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wowie wow. So right here was the post that had all those little sayings on it about campers and all the qualities you need to have. And Jason walked right into camp one night, right through this entrance right here. We saw this building on the left here. Oh my goodness. Walking right in the footsteps of C.J. Graham right now, entering Camp Forest Green. Wow, it's absolutely wild to be here and be able to take my time and just soak it all in. Kind of walk where Jason walked and have this experience. I know there's a ton of other videos, other people have been here, but this is my experience, so it's cool. It's so cool. So right here, I'm standing in the area where they would have parked, where the camp counselors would have parked, and they were unloading their groceries. You do see this building right behind them. You see that door. Of course, you see this billboard. You see that stone column back there, and you see some of this building as well. So it's right here where they are unloading their groceries, talking about what's coming up, and then as they unload their groceries, they turn around and they go inside the mess hall through that door right there. It is locked. I was not given access to go inside, but I have been inside before, so I will be posting some photos that I have from the interior of that building. It's crazy. It looks like it has not changed at all in all these years. That's pretty wild. Just inside those windows is the kitchen area. That's where they were unloading the groceries and they were having their conversation and talking about Jason. And as they looked out the windows right there, which you can't, there's a screen there now, is when they saw the bus pull up with all of the children. And some of them thought that might be scarier than actually dealing with Jason Vorhees themselves. Right inside there. Well, I could not get inside the kitchen, but this window screen was hanging off. So I can at least show you, that's the countertop where Court was sitting. That's the kitchen where they were putting the groceries away. It's a little blurry. Obviously the window is kind of dirty. There's the kitchen island in the center there. So you can see the countertop and the windows a little bit better there. And the door that they would have come through would be on the far right. Whoops. So that's where that occurred. So here is another cool spot from Friday the 13th, Part 6. There's actually a trail you could take down from the camp where the buildings are, up that trail there, and it brings you to this little fire pit area. So right where I am standing is where Megan was standing, and she was giving the little girls a little pep talk on what to expect at camp. Are we gonna have a lot of fun this weekend? Are we gonna scare all the boys? Are we gonna not eat Brussels sprouts? Yay! And the girls are like, yeah, yeah! And meanwhile, back by that tree, Sissy and Paula are standing there kind of egging Megan on. And that is when we learned that Sissy's favorite passion is boys, because she says Court has taken the boys and has given the boys a little history lesson about camping and things. So she says he's doing my favorite thing, Boy Scouting, or something like that. So that is right here at this fire pit area. It's really nice, which is right on the water's edge. And yes, you do see this in Little Darlings as well. This is where they gather for camp songs, and you see it at the end where everybody's getting ready to leave. And Sunshine boots the little model girl right off the edge of the seat because they're a little mad at her about that time in the film. So this is where that happens. It's just a hike down from where the buildings are. Obviously they have campfires here. I think there's a pretty tall stack of woods in the pit in the scene. And it's actually a really pretty, serene, kind of quiet spot. Right on the waterfront. All right. Back up the trail. We got more spots to see. While the left side of this building was used for the kitchen, which is actually a real-life kitchen, the right side of the building, which in real life is a mess hall that has dining tables, was used to portray both the girls' and the boys' cabin, but we'll talk about that more later. Most of the time when we saw it, it was used to show us the girls' cabin when the girls were sleeping. We saw it when Paula and Sissy came running over because the little blonde girl screamed because she saw Jason. In my photographs, you'll see that the bed she slept in was right by the wall where there is a black mark on the wall that is still there to this day, making that spot very recognizable. We see the interior of this building again later when Jason walks in, walks over to the little blonde girl, stands there looming over her, and he suddenly leaves when he hears the police arrive. When used as the girls' or boys' cabin, they do conceal the door to the kitchen that is in the background, so you do not know it's the same building. Right here in the scene where Court was having sexual activities with a gorgeous brunette in an RV, that RV was parked right here. I know they made it look like it was deep in the woods, but it was actually right here. They just used creative camera angles so you didn't see any of those cabins in the background. You know, Hollywood magic, right? And of course they erected the fake utility pole that Jason used to cut off the power to the RV. Right over here is a building with some picnic tables, so all they had to do was pull some of those picnic tables or one of those picnic tables out and put it out here, so it looked that they were camping in the RV out in the woods in some picnic area within a forest. But nope, it was right here on the grounds of Camp Daniel Morgan where all of the other camp scenes were filmed. I'm standing in front of a pretty cool location. We only see it for a couple seconds in the film. We see Tommy Jarvis come here to make an urgent phone call, and then we see him meet up with Megan here. So pretty quick, but it's a pretty cool looking spot, I gotta admit. So this is Karloff's, I guess, convenience store or grocery store in the movie. And right about here, kind of maybe behind that stone, I think, right in that area is the telephone booth. And that is the phone booth. Tommy Jarvis pulls in here. His truck is over here. And he places a call to Megan, begging for her help. And she does agree to come out here and meet up with him and try to put, the nightmare of Jason Vorhees behind the town once and for all. So again, you only see it very briefly, but I think it's just a really cool location. I think it's cool that it's still here. Obviously, it's not in business. It's not operational. Hasn't been for a long time. It was named Karloff's after Boris Karloff, a little nod to Boris Karloff. But it's pretty cool, I gotta say. The angle's kind of about like that, and obviously it's a whole lot higher, way high. It's probably a crane shot, but that's kind of the angle that you see. And you see all these trees back there, the phone booth, you see his truck, Tommy's truck, as he makes that call for help from Megan. Right here. Now you might not expect it, but this kind of abandoned, rundown looking building, looks like there's kind of an older rundown barn behind it as well, is actually located right next to what looks to be a pretty nice hiking trail. There's another old barn on the right. If I turn around this way, that's the main road up there. You just turn onto this road and there's Karloff's, and here's the other side of the trail. It is called the Cricket Frog Trail, and we are actually still out here in Covington. So this is still Covington, Georgia. off of, I think, Highway 213. Even though we only see it for two quick scenes. I mean, I think they picked a perfect looking structure for that. Over here appears to be a little map of the trail and some more information about the trail. If I zoom in, we can see maybe a little bit more about the trail itself. Trail rules. And this is kind of cool. You want a shirt with the Cricket Frog Trail logo on it? The Cricket Frog Trail being right next to Karloff's. They have merch. I don't know if you can hear it, how peaceful it is out here. It's nothing but birds chirping. Alright, so that's gonna just about do it for Karloff's. Hope you enjoyed seeing it. I gotta say, it's a little trippy to see like my own face like right in front of it. Like, I've seen this movie how many times, and I'm here. It's just a little trippy. It's so cool. It's so cool. Alright, so on to the next spot. Jason wasted no time slipping back into his old habits. Since his resurrection, he's already killed the head camp counselors, Darren and Lisbeth, the people playing paintball, the cemetery caretaker, and the newly engaged couple. And just as the sheriff's office starts finding the bodies of those killed with Jason's old MO, we see Jason walk right into Camp Forest Green at night, right through these poles right here, which were much taller at that time, completely undetected. One thing we know for certain, more carnage and bloodshed lies ahead. This is the girls' counselor's cabin, or the cabin for the girl counselors. And we see this. We see Jason arrive at night, and he stands right here. We can see him standing there stalking the place, and there's a power pole, and he knocks out the power before deciding to enter the property and go after its occupants, shall we say. It's a pretty cool looking building for such horrible events to take place here at Camp Forest Green. Okay, it's kind of dark in here, but here is the fireplace. And if I go too much closer, it's going to get really dark. But this stone right here is a kind of a prominent stone. It has a unique shape, unique markings, and you do see that in both films, Friday the 13th Part 6 and Little Darlings. But this is a Friday the 13th Part 6 video. Right over here is about where Sissy was sitting, having popcorn, reading a book, until she heard some strange noises. And she thought that perhaps it was Court playing some kind of joke on her. So she went over to the windows, and we know it was a window that was completely opposite from the fireplace, because you see the fireplace behind her. And she pours the soda out the window, and I believe it was this one right here, because of this dark knot. And of course, it's not Court, and she ends up being yanked out that window with such velocity that her slippers fall off her feet and land there. And that's the last we see of Sissy. Paula is over in this bed over here, trying to enjoy her slumber, just thinking that Sissy and Court were up to, some shenanigans, teenage shenanigans. She is awakened by the young blonde girl walking in carrying a bloody knife, which of course belongs to Jason. She found it, and she wants to deliver it to Paula to say, see, there is a scary man here. And she lays it right here on the ground. You could see these markings in that scene, and they're still here to this day. Another telltale giveaway that the little girl approaches Paula in her bed here and lays the knife down there, as if the markings in the floor were not enough, is this mark in the paneling here, this vertical mark. It's just to the left of the little girl's shoulder. All of these things look so much the same this many years later. Paula later is sitting on her bed thinking she's imagining things, and she notices the door has blown open. So she's a little scared. She walks over, takes a look, doesn't see anything, so she thinks it's all her imagination. Goes to close the door when, boom, Jason appears. And the next thing you know, we're outside the cabin. We don't see what's going on, but of course we can, our imaginations can pretty much tell us what's going on. So there was like a sofa here with a fan back. This is where the girls spent a lot of their time. Again, in Little Darlings, the model character had a lot of her photos hanging there. So Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol would have been, actually I think they had beds that were right here, right next to each other. So later on in the film, Megan, when she is coming back, trying to help Tommy put Jason to rest once and for all, she comes and looks in the door, and she sees nothing but blood everywhere. Blood on the windows, blood on the floors, blood on the beds, blood on the slippers. I mean, it is everywhere. Whew. We do see this door. They do go in and out of that door a few times. So this is definitely the cabin of the ill-fated counselors, Paula and Sissy. After Jason enters and slams that door shut on Paula, the camera kind of pans back, and we are left to our imaginations as to what is going on inside. But I think we all knew it wasn't going to end well.
Which is confirmed a minute later when Jason smashes her bloody torso through the glass window.
Such a pretty setting for such a gruesome sequence of events.
After Tommy calls Megan and asks her to pick up some supplies and meet him at Karloff's, she obliges. Soon they are headed down this road with Megan doing the driving, Tommy in the passenger seat with his head down in her lap so that nobody sees him, including her father and the other police officers. As they approach this intersection, she says to him, "Hold on, it's going to be a hairy turn." Just to the left is the Hard Labor Creek State Park, but you don't see that. What you do see as they make this turn right ahead, as soon as these cars pass, is, dun 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 dun, a barricade of police cars. The jig is up, they have to stop, and Tommy is put back in jail. Their plan to go to the camp and trap Jason is thwarted, at least for the time being.
So here we are at the Camp Forest Green Police Department at night. I wanted to come out here at night to try to mimic the way it looked in the movie. Over here on the left, there was a sign lit up that said sheriff. It was kind of vertical and it was green, if I recall correctly. And I'm gonna zoom out. So Megan takes pity on Tommy and decides to help him break out of his jail cell. She pulls a fast little number where she gets the gun away from the police officer, and the police officer ends up in the jail cell, and her and Tommy come out these stairs right here and come out here to her waiting sports car. After a short discussion about who's going to drive, they get in the car and they speed off down this road here, right down here, with the Covington square in the background, and they make a right turn where that stop sign is, on their way to prove Tommy is not crazy and Tommy is not responsible for the things that are going on in Forest Green.
With the discovery of all those bodies, the sheriff's office is finally taking this thing seriously. And they're also on the lookout for Tommy, who has escaped with Megan's help. They all show up at the camp and they begin their search for Jason.
That was the firewood storage cabin. In the movie, it was full of fire logs. If you recall, there were fireplaces in both the cabin used for the little girls and little boys, as well as the cabin that the two camp counselors were staying in. So they needed firewood, and this is where it was stored. Now, when we see it in the movie, one of the police officers is on patrol, on the hunt for Jason. It's at night, it's dark, and he's out here with his flashlight. So the police officer is coming from over there. He's walking this direction. There was a tree there. You see a tree stump behind him. And you kind of see this corner here of this firewood storage structure. And he's walking around here with his flashlight. And he thinks he hears a noise, so he gets a little startled. You know, I mean, look at the scenery here. You're in a place like this and you hear a noise when you know Jason Voorhees is on the loose. Wouldn't you get a little startled? But it actually just turns out to be that little blonde girl. That little blonde girl has been seeing Jason all night long, and people think she's crazy. But she's not.
As the police officer is consoling her, Jason emerges from the bushes, she runs, he starts shooting, but to no avail.
And Jason crushes his skull in his bare hands right here in front of this wood pile. Just a few moments later, the sheriff is patrolling the property looking for Jason Voorhees as well. And he comes from that direction and comes around here with his rifle drawn. And once again, you see a part of this structure as the sheriff makes his appearance. This building right here was used to portray the exterior of the boys' cabin. There's one scene where all the boys are kind of standing on the stairs there and the door is a little bit open. But you really don't see inside of the cabin. So this was only used for the exterior. The interior of the boys' cabin was actually filmed in the mess hall, the same room where the girls were set up. They just changed the dressing a little bit. There are actually some knots visible on the door to that area, to where the beds were, where they were sleeping. And you'll notice, if you freeze frame, when the sheriff is coming in and he opens that door when they're looking for Jason, when it's set up to be the boys' room, there's a dartboard on it, and you could see the knots on the door. And then when he's coming in supposedly to check on the girls in the girls' cabin, the dartboard is gone, but the same knots are on the door. That pretty much confirms that that same building was used to portray both the inside of the girls' cabin and the boys' cabin. But this was the outside. This area right here was used in a pretty pivotal scene. Now, we actually had some pretty good rains yesterday, so everything is wet, and I'm trying really hard not to fall and slip on these wet, slippery leaves. But this is where the sheriff had his first face-to-face encounter with the one and only Jason Voorhees. The sheriff is out doing his own patrol of the property looking for Jason, and he comes from this direction and he makes this turn, and we see part of this structure next to the sheriff, who's about right there with his weapon drawn. He trips over his officer, falls to the ground, and realizes that his officer, he's seen better days. I think he touches him, gets a little grossed out when he comes face to face with Jason, who's standing actually right about where I'm standing. Yikes. Where Jason is standing, you see this little vertical crack in the siding right here. I'm literally standing where CJ Graham is standing as Jason. Oh, tripping. There's the crack. All I need is a Jason mask. And you wouldn't even know the difference, right? Alright, hopefully this is going to do better. Again, it's pretty wet and slippery here, so I'm trying not to have a fall. So where that crack is right there is where Jason was. And then you see that crack in front of where the sheriff is. So the sheriff would have been right about back there, holding his gun on Jason. And he actually does shoot Jason. But of course, as we know, Jason doesn't die. Jason doesn't die. So Jason continues to come after him. And what does the sheriff do? He runs off like a coward into the woods back there. This is it. This is where that confrontation took place. That's pretty crazy. Alright, so just to kind of give you a little idea of the layout, this is where, if you remember, the groceries were being unloaded on the opposite side of that billboard, because we saw that billboard and we saw this post and we saw part of these two cabins. Down there was the building used for the exterior of the boys' cabin, but only the opposite side over there. We did not see that side. And then over here is the cabin behind which the sheriff has his confrontation with Jason. Right back there is the parking lot and the pavilion with the picnic tables. Now, I'm not going to be doing a video on Little Darlings. I don't have time to get to all the spots, but of course it's well documented that Little Darlings was filmed here as well. And there's a scene where the family comes to visit the kids, and Christy McNichol and her mother sit down here at one of the picnic tables and enjoy some burgers. So that would have happened right there. This is the other side of the cabin where the sheriff has this confrontation with Jason. Of course, we don't see this side in the film, but just to give you an idea, since we're here, why not, of what it looks like. Looks like it's storage in there. It's really beautiful out here. Very pretty, very quiet. Lots of chirping birds. And of course up there is the main entrance where I parked my car. Just take a little peek inside here since the door's open. Not really much going on here. Oh, looky here. I'm wondering if this isn't left over from Little Darlings. Little Wolf, Little Theater. Oh my gosh, is that a prop from the film? Little Wolf, Little Theater? I mean, the only time this place was known as Camp Little Wolf was Little Darlings. Otherwise, it's Camp Daniel Morgan. Well, isn't that interesting? I'll have to go back and watch the movie and see if there was such a sign over the door or something. Little Wolf, Little Theater. Holy cow. How about that? Now in this building there was a little bit of Hollywood trickery. Now this is the mess hall, so this is where the little girls and even the little boys, they were all kind of hustled into the one cabin towards the end of the movie when they realized Jason was on the prowl to keep them safe. So Tommy is down at the boat dock. He's kind of rigging the boat to kind of trap Jason. And Megan comes over here to check on the children. And Jason bursts through that door and grabs a hold of Megan. Now, it is actually a door, but in the movie they made it look like a window and the bottom was siding. So it looked as though Jason was crashing through the wall. But it is actually a door, so that was just a little bit of Hollywood trickery. Give you a little frame of reference back there, just to the side of the tree there. That is the boys' cabin. Okay. And we just kind of come down this path right here. And you'll see something that looks pretty familiar. Oh my gosh. Even though I was here before, it's still just sending an incredible chill up my spine. It's quite a thrill to be here. It's a beautiful day out here too. Yesterday it was very rainy in this area. Today is beautiful. Now I'm hearing some noises. That's a little creepy. As long as it's not, I guess I'm good. No lifeguard on duty. Swim at your own risk. Yeah, definitely. This is it. Crystal Lake, where the finale of the movie was filmed. So, as I said, I was here once before with a couple of friends. Billy Dickey from Billy's Spot Shots. He was dressed as Jason. He was in the water attacking me on the deck. And Adam Ramirez from Adam Was Here was filming, and we were just having so much fun. We completely lost track of time. The park was closing. We had to leave. We left here looking at each other going, and it might not have been right away. It might have taken a minute to sink in. But at some point, we kind of looked at each other and said, what just happened? Because we didn't get to go do and see everything I've just been doing and showing you. Like, we don't know. So ever since, I've been wanting to get back here and have a do-over. And that is today. I only wish Billy were here in his Jason outfit to jump out. That would make this perfecto. Now you can't come all the way out here and not go out on the pier, right? So we're going to go ahead. So this is where the finale of the movie was filmed, or at least I should say a part of it. I had the great pleasure of meeting CJ Graham. He made an appearance at a venue that is local to me. is a very handsome and very charming man. It's hard to believe that's what was behind that dreadful Jason look from Friday the 13th, Part 6. When I met him, he told me that actually the scenes with the water were filmed in three different locations. So when you see Tommy, getting the boat ready, and you see Megan walking up and down the pier, that is here. And Tommy's in the boat, kind of getting things ready, getting the chain ready. He's going to trap Jason and put him back down on the bottom of Crystal Lake, where he was all those years ago, which is what started this whole thing. So that was definitely filmed here. However, when you see the underwater scenes, that was actually done in a pool in Los Angeles. And that pool no longer exists. And then a third pool was used, somebody's pool in their backyard, for some final cuts where Jason's getting all chopped up by the propeller from the boat. So that was not filmed here. But all of the other stuff was getting the boat ready and a few other scenes. Listen to that. I really want to thank the camp staff managers for letting me come out. I've been having a ball walking in the footsteps of CJ Graham and all the other cast members, Tom Matthews, and just everybody, kind of reliving this film in the flesh at Camp Daniel Morgan. So I want to point out this angle. There's a scene where the police are on the property looking for Jason, and one of the officers starts walking down the pier this way. There's some lights, some black pole lights. I don't believe those were real. Those were just for the movie. And the little lights, the little can lights, were kind of swinging because it was a windy night. And the sheriff comes walking this way, and what do you think happens to him? What do you think happens? Of course, Jason gets him, throws I think it's a knife or something, hits him in the head, and he falls overboard off the pier and lands in one of the canoes that's in the water. And then, of course, we see Tommy Jarvis coming this way when he's getting ready to trap Jason. He's got his equipment. And, of course, we see Megan running this way when she's running after Tommy because she was a little worried for him. That'll happen right here. Well, unlike the Forest Green Police Department, it looks like I survived Camp Forest Green, Camp Crystal Lake, no matter what they say, and Jason Vorhees. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't tell you what it feels like to be here and to be able to walk the property properly the way I had always envisioned. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Maybe give it a subscribe. This is just a hobby, so I don't produce a ton of videos, but I do what I can about my passion projects. And I will see you on the next one. Until then, take care. Bye.